I'm delighted to be here this afternoon anyway. So my name's Harriet and I am the Information Advocacy and Research Officer with the Multiple Sclerosis Society. So I'm going to do a very short presentation this afternoon on a project that we're working on at the moment called Time to Act, a consensus on early treatment. So this project is around the issue of early diagnosis and treatment in multiple sclerosis. So just very briefly, for those of you that might not be familiar with MS and what it is, multiple sclerosis is the most common disabling disease of the central nervous system in younger people. It's usually diagnosed between the ages of 20 and 40. So it's diagnosed at a time in life when people are really having families, working on their careers and that kind of thing. It's very unpredictable. So there's three main types of MS. Most people, around 80% of people are originally diagnosed with what we call relapsing remitting MS. So that is characterised by periods of stability with then sudden periods of relapses or flare-ups, exacerbations of symptoms, from which the person will make usually not a full recovery, usually a partial recovery, but they will usually have lost some kind of functioning after a serious relapse. Then about 60% of people will then go on to develop secondary progressive MS, so they're not relapsing anymore, their condition's kind of steadily deteriorating. And then a very small number of people will have a progressive form of MS from the onset, so that's primary progressive MS. So those are the three main types. MS is, again, it's very varied. No two people will experience it the same. So symptoms include tremors, limb stiffness and spasticity, mobility problems, cognition problems, incontinence problems, and fatigue as well is actually one of the most problematic symptoms. Around 90% of people with MS will experience really serious and debilitating fatigue. So quite often the things that cause issues for employment and family life and social life and things like that, it's not the more, I suppose, obvious symptoms like the physical mobility. Quite often it is the fatigue that's the most problematic. There is no cure at the moment, but there are drugs to manage symptoms and relapses. So most neurologists would now describe MS as a treatable condition, whereas that would not have been the case even 20 years ago. And the treatment landscape for MS is changing and improving all the time. There's around 9,000 people with MS in Ireland. We don't actually know the exact figures because we don't have a patient registry, which is something I'll talk a little bit more about in a while. But we do know that 9,000 of that is one of the highest incidences in the world. Briefly on MS Ireland, who we are and what we do. So we're primarily a services organisation. So we provide individual and family support to people affected by MS. So we have teams of caseworkers around the country who will conduct one-to-one casework with people with MS and their families on whatever issues they need support with. So that might be housing, employment, social welfare entitlements, access to treatments, etc. They would also run Living with MS programs. So those might be symptom management seminars for people who are newly diagnosed, support groups for carers, that kind of thing. We have an information line which is open 10 to 2 Monday to Friday. So again, that's there to provide support, advice, guidance on a range of issues related to MS and just a listening ear as well. So one of the most important element of that. We produce various information resources, so we produce information booklets and fact sheets. We have our website and we obviously we're quite active on social media now as well. And we're also very lucky to have a team of bloggers, MS and Me bloggers. That's them there, the photo in the bottom centre, that's our blogging team. So they will blog on anything and everything to do with living with MS. And they're a really valuable source of information for the MS community in Ireland. We have voluntary branches, so those will be run by people with MS and their families, and they run services at a local level, so support groups, social activities, that kind of thing. And we also are a research organisation, so in the past we would have been able to invest quite a lot of money into MS research. Unfortunately, in recent years, due to considerable reductions in funding, we haven't been able to put as much money into research in the last 5 years or so as we would have done previously. So we now try and support researchers in other ways. So that would include helping researchers to recruit participants for studies, disseminating research findings. Like last year we started a dedicated research easy, which now comes out twice a year. So we do still have a research agenda, although as I say, unfortunately we're limited on the amount of research projects we can fund just at this point in time. And we also have an advocacy and lobbying agenda as well. So the Time to Act project. So as I say, this is a project that looks at early diagnosis and treatment in MS, and on the next couple of slides I'll talk a bit more about what I mean by that and what the evidence is now saying in that regard. But just to give a bit of background as to where this project came from, so there's 4 reports which form the basis for our project. So the first there, the brain health, the orange document there, was an international consensus paper that was put together under the guidance of Professor Gavin Giovannoni, who is a neurologist at Barts Hospital in London. So he convened a group of international experts to review the existing research evidence regarding MS treatments, and he put that paper together. Then the MS Society in the UK then produced their Time to Act report, which again reviewed the evidence, and they produced a sort of consensus statement regarding best clinical practice in this area. And we decided that we would like to produce an Irish version of that report. Fortunately, we have permission from the MS Society in the UK to adapt their documents for Irish use, which is very handy because I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. If there's something good out there already that you can use for your own purposes, then great. And then the 2 Irish reports then, which kind of, I suppose, informed the policy recommendations we're making in our report, would be the Neurological Alliance of Ireland, produced a report in early 2016, a survey of neurology centres in Ireland. So that looked at some of the deficits in funding and staffing that exist in neurology services in Ireland currently. And then Multiple Sclerosis Society produced a report in 2015 looking at the costs to the taxpayer of multiple sclerosis on an annual basis. So MS costs the Irish taxpayer approximately 429 million per year, and that will be in direct healthcare resource uses as well as some less tangible things like productivity losses from people dropping out of work. So those 2 Irish reports were also informed, as I say, the recommendations that went into ours. So what do we now say, or what's the research now saying about treatment in MS? So there are currently 12 disease-modifying therapies that are licensed for relapsing remitting MS. Unfortunately, there are no treatments at the moment for progressive forms of MS, although that is hopefully going to change. There is one treatment for primary progressive MS that's currently going through the licensing process. So we're hopeful that will be on the market in the next couple of years. And then last year, one of the pharmaceutical companies announced promising results for a phase 3 clinical trial for a treatment for secondary progressive MS. So that's very exciting. So that's changing, but as things stand at the minute, there are no treatments for the progressive forms, only the relapsing form. These medications can have incredibly positive effects in terms of slowing down the progression of the illness and the development of disability, but they can also have very serious side effects. MS is an unpredictable illness, as I said, so in the past the sort of general approach taken by neurologists, by clinicians, would have been a sort of wait and see approach, particularly for somebody who wasn't presenting with particularly serious symptoms initially. Rather than risk putting them on a medication that might have very serious side effects, they would probably sort of wait and see if and how the disease progressed and developed. But now what the research is very strongly saying is that you should start a treatment with a DMT as soon as possible to the time of diagnosis, and that if you do that, then the person's long-term outcomes and as regards, as I say, the progression of the illness and the accumulation of disability will be much better. And those are just some, the references there are just some of the studies that are referenced in our report, which are pointing to that conclusion. Okay, so the purpose of the Time to Act paper that we're producing has a sort of twofold purpose. So the first is to argue for clinical practice in Ireland to be sort of in line with international recommendations of best practice and in accordance with current research evidence. And then the second purpose of the paper is to make policy recommendations, because it's all well and good to call for these treatments for someone to be treated in a certain way, but if they can't access their neurologist, if they can't access the MRI scans and so on, that's not going to happen. So we're also making a set of policy recommendations, and that's very much in line with the National Clinical Programme for Neurology Model of Care, which was released in September last year. So mainly what we're really asking for is for that model of care to be properly resourced and implemented. Okay, so what we've done to date, so we've adapted the UK paper Time to Act, as I said, and we've built in data from the Societal Cost of MS report and the Neurological Alliance of Ireland's report. Then in January, we held an advisory board with 4 Irish neurologists who had a clinical interest in MS, so they advised us on the development of the clinical recommendations. And then our further plans, then we're also going to be releasing, we're hoping to launch this document in Brain Awareness Week, which is the week commencing 6th of March. And we're also going to release alongside a document called MS Treatment Decisions, which is for people with MS. And it's a guide to shared decision making, so it kind of empowers people with MS to have those conversations with their neurologists around what treatments will be right for them. And we're also going to try and disseminate the findings of the report to policymakers and key officials from the Department of Health and the HSE, so we'll try and request some meetings with them to discuss what we're saying. And we'll of course also seek the support of the neurologists, particularly the 4 neurologists that are involved in the advisory board, because obviously the clinical recommendations we're making will carry a lot more weight if they're saying it than if it's just us saying it. I won't go through all the policy recommendations in a huge amount of detail, but basically what we're calling for, we need to address the serious staffing deficits in neurology services. So currently, as an example, Ireland has less than half of the recommended number of specialist MS nurses per head of population. And we also have one of the lowest numbers of consultant neurologists per head in Europe. Timely and equitable access to MRI scans. So the NAI survey revealed that 60% of the neurology centres in the country waiting times for MRI scans is currently over a year. So that's very problematic, particularly for an illness like MS, which does require regular monitoring. Development of ring-fence and centralised funding systems. Some MS medications are funded through individual hospital budgets, so what's happened in the past would be if a hospital's run out of money, then the person may not get the medication they've been prescribed. We are actually very hopeful that's going to change shortly, because the HSE service plan this year contained a recommendation that the centralised funding system for those medications was to be set up, so we're hopeful to see change on that one soon. Development of a patient registry. So as I said, we have no patient registry for multiple sclerosis in Ireland, which is extraordinary given, as I say, we do have one of the highest instances in the world, and that causes a lot of difficulties as regards, as I say, monitoring the safety and efficacy of medications, monitoring disease trends, and also it causes problems in attracting clinical trials. So that's a major difficulty. Training and upskilling for GPs as well on identifying and managing MS. And then finally, we make some recommendations around the health technology process, the system regarding how new medications are approved for funding and reimbursement. So at the moment, that seems to take quite a long time, and there seem to be delays in that. And also, currently, neurologists aren't asked for their clinical input as part of that process, whereas in other diseases like cancer, oncologists are asked for their input as part of the HTA, so that's something we'd also like to see change. Clinical recommendations, briefly again, so basically, so what we're saying is that as soon as somebody, obviously somebody should, when they present with symptoms of MS, they should be able to see a neurologist as soon as possible. From diagnosis, they should be started treatment on a disease-modifying therapy as soon as possible. People should be receiving at least a yearly MRI scan, and more often if the disease is more active. If a patient has evidence of incomplete suppression of disease on the first-line treatment, then they should be escalated to a second-line therapy. So if the medication isn't working, then the treatment needs to be changed. And a clinical relapse should prompt, again, timely access to an MRI and change of treatment if appropriate. So that's me, and I think I've pretty much bang on time. So.